But I know in terms of patients who have done that and who have had to do that, or for that matter, I've had patients at home who had to work at home, but they couldn't sit anymore. So they will put the computer on your kitchen counter or something, right? And go with your feet wider apart. So you're more. So if I'm in a wider position, it brings me down to the surface. So I'm not doing this, right? Or put something underneath it and raise the object up. So you can make certain adjustments. So that could be beneficial, but then you have to weigh in other things. Okay, does the person have knee problems? Oh, I can't stand for it. You have to stand for a certain amount of hours and I have to sit back down. Yeah.
All 5 stations at our dispatch office department, they all have motorized counters.
Yeah.
Where you see them, they're sitting, and then occasionally they push a button, everything goes up about 18 inches. Then they'll stand for a while, then they push the button and they'll go back and sit for a while.
That's the ideal. I mean, that is good. They have that, but unfortunately most places don't have that yet. But you're right.
It might be worth the investment.
Oh, I
Probably
agree.
cheaper than surgery.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or surgery, missed time, rehab, therapy, medications, so much stuff. Discomfort, yeah, pain and suffering, all these things. So I feel with the sitting all the way back is just not the best way to position yourself in terms of posture. Okay. My recommendation to most of my patients, first of all, the basic rule should be I prefer to raise the object quite high. So my hips are always higher than my knees. That's the rule that I like to follow. So it varies. I mean, I sometimes sit up to this point because now the load is on my legs. Okay, so if I'm sitting on a lower surface, look what happens to my pelvis right away. And then it's hard for some of you guys to see. Sitting with my knees higher than my hips, or even if they're the same level, is invariably going to round your back. So if my base is not set right, I can never sit up straight. It's just not going to work. I'm going to keep falling back in this posture. And I'm going to keep fighting it. I'm going to come up to here, and then fall back. Come up to here, and after a while, my mid-back gets sore and stiff and achy, and then, one thing after the other. Okay? So a much better option is, number one, the object you're sitting on, raise it up a bit. So hips are a bit higher than your knees. That's the first thing.
Yes.
She's got her legs crossed.
But that can sometimes work for people. If you have good hip mobility, and you're able to sit in that position. I don't know if you guys follow your TV, you always see, you see a lot of Buddhist monks. How do they sit?
Buddhist probably.
Yeah. But the thing about it, part of the reason is because they have really good hip mobility. Most of us don't, because we don't sit on the ground anymore, right? We sit in chairs, and after a while, there's no reason you bend down, pick up whatever you need to. So you lose the ability. Hip flexibility goes down over time. And thus also the ability to squat. I mean, it leads to a lot of other problems, I think. Being able to squat, right? And strength goes down. And eventually leads to sit to stand. What do a lot of people do? They're doing it. Strength is going down. So quite a bit of the other parts of the world, they still squat and use the bathroom. So if I do that from age 1 to the day I die, what am I doing? I'm getting strengthened every single day. I gotta hold that position, I gotta come back. I'm not saying you start going home and doing that. But having said that though, you can start working on strengthening and flexibility exercises. Because not only will that help with basic things like sit to stand, squatting and pick up things, but it'll also prevent problems with your low back and other things.
The Japanese have less problems with that.
With what?
With the squatting and the knees.
No, I would say they would. I don't know in terms of firsthand the Japanese, but I know about other cultures. I'd say that I think they have less problems because they have the ability. They hang out in those squatted positions. And in fact, even the patients that I get to see, there's certain ethnic or racial groups that I see that come in certain parts of the world, they have less issues with certain type of problems. And part of it is just a level of activity. But then, once you're here, then you start losing the ability also. Because again, you take the object out of this environment, they're not doing those things anymore. They're sitting in the car too, sitting on the couch also doing all those things. So if you're going to do that, that's fine. But then exercise in terms of flexibility and strengthening exercises to maintain the flexibility of the hips, your mid-back, and then the strength of the rest of the body. Okay, get out of the static posture. So what I tell my patients is, besides raising this up, one of the big things I tell people is, and this, you know, my female patients, I always tell them, like, look, you've been taught to be ladylike, right? So what are we going to do? They always sit like this, or they're crossing their legs. Horrible. Get in more trouble, a lot more trouble. Okay? So I always tell them, don't worry about the ladylike stuff. Sit like this. Okay? Wider base. Wider base. Get away from that. Yeah, well, I get tired. Yeah, you're going to get over it. You're going to get stronger. Okay? So wider base, and look what it does to my, now this is, obviously what I would do is I would cover this space up with like one of those pads or something else. Right? A little bit of a cushion through here. So on a regular chair, if I have my feet wider apart, and that ball idea we're talking about, that would work similar to that. Right? Because it forces you to be more upright. Now, in this position, I actually prefer, I sit on the edge of my chair almost. So I'm out here. Automatically rolls my pelvis forward. So my pelvis is rolled forward instead of rounding, and look what happens to my spine when I round.
But doesn't that also bring on stress?
No, not at all. No, because you don't want to work hard, you want to work efficiently and smart for your system. Staying in this position, I'm going to keep doing this because this is not comfortable after a while. If this was a little bit higher, and I prefer to actually use a stool at work. I mean, my nose charting, you do it at home on my regular chair. It doesn't slump like this, but it's not a fancy chair. I sit more towards the end, or I take the chair and I tilt it down a little bit. So my pelvis is tilted forward. So the moment it tilts my pelvis forward, look what happens to the rest of my spine there. I'm not doing anything in my upper body. I'm just tilting my pelvis forward. So I can stay relaxed through these guys. And I'm not going to get into that forward head rounded posture, whether it's my shoulder, neck, or my lower back. So being here, I can work more efficiently. I won't get as fatigued in those positions.
How close do you keep your...
Not this far. Definitely closer. Yeah. So, and as I said, this ideally would be higher for me, right? So when this is higher,
would be above the top of
sorry, second.
then your eyes would be higher than the top of
Yes. So what I would do is then I'd have to work on adjusting this or the sometimes even the tilt of this or this, different things to, for me, whatever works best for me. And 30 minutes, 45 minutes,
then
get up, get out of that pot position, move around a little bit. And for some patients, less time than that. Because if you're already having problems and this doesn't feel too good, then you got to get out of there faster. Yes?
How about lumbar support?
You know, I used to recommend patients to use lumbar support early on in my practice. I used to use, and in fact,